Okay, so let's get right into this. You've got one of the biggest names in late night television, Stephen Colbert, making this pretty explosive on air claim that his own network, CBS, is actually censoring him. Now, that's a huge deal, but as we're about to see, the story, well, it might be a whole lot more complicated than that. So, this is the moment that really set everything in motion. Colbert is on his show and he tells his audience that the network's lawyers flat out blocked an interview he'd already done with a U.S. Senate candidate. The way he put it, this was a powerful, politically driven move designed to silence a voice. But was it really censorship? There's another explanation out there that suggests this whole thing has nothing to do with silencing Colbert. Instead, it's all about a very old federal rule that broadcasters have to live by. So what's really going on here? The entire other side of this story, it all comes down to one thing: the equal time rule. And this isn't some new policy the network cooked up. Nope. This is an FCC regulation that's been on the books governing television for decades.
So here's the crucial part. This is not a CBS rule, it's a federal law. Basically, what it means is if you give airtime to one political candidate, you are legally required to be ready to offer similar, comparable airtime to all of their opponents in that same race. It's not a choice, it's an obligation.
And this, right here, this really gets to the heart of the counterargument. You see, by just adding that one little word, unless, the entire story changes. It's no longer a flat no. It becomes a no unless you're willing to do this other thing. And that frames this whole situation not as a top-down censorship order, but as a practical choice that the show itself had to make.
Okay, so you're probably asking, why couldn't the show just meet that unless condition? Why not just have the other candidates on? Well, according to this analysis, the answer to that question is hiding in plain sight, right in the show's own guest list. This number, this is what seems to unlock the whole situation. A media study looked at the guests on The Late Show since 2022, and this is the ratio they found. For every one Republican guest, there were 176 left-leaning guests, 176 to 1. Looking at it like this really shows you the imbalance we're talking about. And the argument here is that this specific booking pattern made it almost impossible for the show to comply with the equal time rule. I mean, think about it. To suddenly have to host a whole string of opposing candidates would completely shatter their established format. And just to add one more layer of context here, the analysis points out that the single, solitary Republican guest they had on during that time was Liz Cheney, someone who, you could argue, isn't exactly representative of the party's mainstream today. So this begs a much bigger question. Is this kind of imbalance just a Colbert thing? Well, this analysis argues that no, it's not an isolated case at all. It's actually a symptom of a massive shift that's been happening across the entire late-night television landscape. The analysis points to all the other major players in the game: Jimmy Kimmel, Seth Meyers, even Jimmy Fallon and Jon Stewart. The claim is that they also very rarely, if ever, feature voices from the other side of the political aisle. The suggestion is that the entire genre has pretty much moved in one direction.
And this is the core of that argument, that late night has fundamentally changed. The idea is that it's moved away from being broad, accessible entertainment for everyone, and it's morphed into something else. A kind of predictable political commentary for a very specific slice of the audience. And this really highlights what this analysis sees as the end result of that trend. The belief is that this intense focus on politics has pushed away huge parts of the potential audience, and that it's one of the main reasons the genre has seen such a well-documented drop in viewership over the years. So from here, the analysis zooms out, way out. It proposes that this drama we're seeing on TV isn't just about one interview, or even about late-night comedy. It might actually be a proxy war for a much, much larger battle happening off-screen for the future of media itself. Okay, so look at the sequence of events. First, you've got this major acquisition of CBS happening. Then, you hear talk that legacy media talent like Colbert might be on their way out. And at the same time, the very same company is reportedly trying to buy Warner Bros., which owns CNN. You start to see a pattern forming. So from this perspective, Colbert's on-air complaint looks like more than just a complaint. It's seen as a public act of defiance, maybe even a warning shot. It's a preemptive fight against a potential new corporate ownership that they fear is going to come in and change the entire ideological direction of the network. So let's just quickly recap the argument we've been exploring. It's not censorship, but a long-standing FCC rule. That rule was triggered by the show's own lopsided booking choices, which are seen as part of a genre-wide political shift. And this whole public fight might be rooted in a much deeper fear about who is going to control legacy media in the future.
And you know, all of this really boils down to one massive central question, doesn't it? At what point does entertainment, comedy with a point of view, cross a line and become something else entirely? Something that looks a lot more like straight-up political advocacy. It's a huge question, and it goes way beyond just one TV show.